Welcome back. For today's project, this should be kind of cool. We're going to use the CNC to help out with this, as well as incorporate this into the micro jig micro fit system. And this is a really inexpensive spindle sander. This was 50 bucks. It's similar to a lot of the ones that cost more with some different manufacturers. This was just on Amazon. Comes with some extra accessories for some different sized sanding spindles and some mounting brackets and some other odds and ends. But what I think we'll do here, since I don't have space for a full-size oscillating spindle sander, or trying to find a corner in here would be kind of tight, what we're going to do is make a portable system with this that we can just bolt down to this. I've got some leftover MDF, and we're going to use the CNC to design a pocket underneath where this will sit under here and it'll be mounted to it, and we can just take it out when we need to. With these clamps, it's not going anywhere. So let's go on this. I want to get back to my computer and design the pocket for this, and we'll go from there. As far as this line right here, we had to smash out when I was buying the MDF at the hardware store, and something crunched there. So we're going to clean this side up a little bit, but we'll go from there. As far as this sitting on the CNC, this is a 60/40, so I don't have a huge bed space. I've got enough to do some fun, cool projects, but it's not massive. This piece will fit on here, but it's going to take pretty much the entire bed. And the other thing we need to keep in mind is that we want to mirror this. So when it's being designed, and I'm going to use Vectric Cut 2D. I've got a couple different software programs, but we'll just use Cut 2D for this. And I want to keep in mind that since this is going to be underneath, we want to make sure that our design incorporates that inversion. These little sanders are pretty versatile, and if we wanted to keep this really, really simple, we wouldn't have to design anything. We could just use these clamps here. They go into the base of the sander, and then you just tighten up those nuts underneath. So you can just put on any corner of any bench, and that would certainly be very simple. I want a wider base though, so that I can slide larger stock, slightly larger stock to it. And I also want to build a fence at some point so that we can flatten off edges, maybe use it as a really basic joiner. So we're going to complicate this a little bit with the CNC and mount it underneath for a larger bed. But because this does have the extra hardware, it would be simple just to mount that to the end too. Most of my CNC designs start this simple. Just a few notes on some paper, and then we're going to transfer these dimensions over into our CAD software, and I'm just using Cut 2D for this. It's simple enough. This is nothing too involved. And then we'll start sketching this out on the screen. This really couldn't get much simpler. So we're just going to use a rectangle here. The actual sander has a little bit of a curve when it comes to the end point here. But I think for our purposes here, a rectangle should be fine. And then this will be the cut through for the actual spindle. And if we go to the 3D view, kind of shows what we're working with here. So this is just going to be our pocket here, and then this is going to be the cut through here for where the actual spindle goes through. So we've saved everything for the CNC. So let's get out there and get cutting. Our Cut 2D information, our toolpaths are on USB, so let's fire up this very old laptop, which we've got set up for the system here. And then we're going to need to put a sacrificial board underneath. I've got some pieces of OSB that we'll use to take up the slack. And because MDF makes a ridiculous amount of dust, this will be a good test for our dust shoe here. I've used this for some other cuts and it's worked really, really well. I haven't done anything with MDF using this yet, so we'll see how well this works. One of the very cool things about a CNC is that you can set it up, have it work on a particular part, and move on to something else while it's doing its thing. And right now we're just waiting for this pocket to be cut. This is straight off the CNC. I could have used a larger end mill. This is the one I had chucked up in here, and I've got my feeds and speeds set up for that. So I didn't bother swapping out the collet and going with something larger. So this took about 43 minutes or so. We probably could have cut that down to maybe 20 or 30 if we used a larger end mill. So this is very clean. This is my first time using the CNC out in the shop here, and quite honestly, over the years, I don't think I've CNC'd MDF, because the dust has always been so much of a concern. And with the dust shoe here, pretty much the first run with this shoe and with the big dust collector, I'm really impressed with the way that the MDF dust was under control. There's really nothing in the air right now. We've got a few little chips down here, but it was pulling so hard that these little flanges, you could see them pulling in some of the videos. So all of the dust is really being pulled into there and then just carried around through that dust collector. In the past, I've used a shop vac, which was adequate, but this is definitely different. This is definitely better using a large diameter dust collector. So let's get this off of here. We'll clean this up a little bit and see how the oscillating spindle sander sits in that cutout. This is obviously upside down, but this just shows the sander sitting in that pocket with our spindle sticking out the other side. So for the mount here, since we've got these recesses on the sander here, what we're going to do is build a mount with a plate just to hold this down to the MDF at this point. It's always fun using a tool that you're building with a tool that you're intending to use the tool that you're building on. So using the Matchfit system to hold down the project that we're working on is just kind of very meta, very cool. So these are the holes that we're going to drill, and as far as the hold down for this, it's going to be super simple. I was going through my junk bins. We're just going to use washers here, and these will go through here. They go in the little notches on the side of the sander here, and we'll see how that works. If that doesn't work out too well, we'll redesign something else, and we could get really fancy and CNC some sort of aluminum hold down block, but I don't think we need to do that right now. And using up scrap here, so if this turns out to be something that's not as perfect as it could be, then we'll redesign it and do something else. So we're just kind of playing here. Let's get these holes drilled, get these washers in, see how this holds down, and also going through my junk bin. I had some hardware that was sitting around from a previous project. And incidentally, those are stainless steel bolts, so just an added benefit. That was from a boat project a few years back. So let's get these holes drilled and go from there. As far as the hold down system goes, that's it. And this is not going anywhere. This is incredibly strong. I'm really surprised. I thought we might have some play, but there just isn't any movement there whatsoever. So let's flip this over, see how it looks with the clamp down system in the correct position, and sand a little piece of wood and see how that goes. But this is about as easy as it can go. And obviously this can be used with just a regular router. You don't need to use a CNC for this. Just dig out a channel, cut a hole for the spindle, and bolt it down. All mounted and clamped down. Take it out when you need to use it, and when you don't, just tuck it away and put it somewhere else. Really solid, not going anywhere. I'm actually very surprised how rock solid that is. That is incredibly strong. As far as the dust collection, I never really had any intentions of using this Although if we wanted to, we could CNC a channel through there so that we could get a hose through there. I think with the dust collector underneath the bench here, we'll work out some sort of duct or some sort of opening or vent near where this is, or come up with something different, maybe a larger enclosure, maybe a box underneath, but we'll give that some thought down the line. And because there's so much real estate and space up top here, I'm sure some sort of fence can be arranged so we could use it sort of like a joiner or to clear off ends on different sides. Very good, very easy to use. I think this will be a useful part in the shop here. I can see a lot of uses for this, and we will build a fence. And the more I think about this, the more I think I will do some sort of dust collection scoop or mount that'll go on the end of the board here. Something will clamp down. We could even put some grooves in here with the Matchfit dovetail that we made the top with. But we'll see how that goes. But easy project, very affordable, and I think we'll get some use out of this. I'll also tuck the cord somewhere just for my desire to keep everything nice and neat. Maybe hold this down, maybe put a power strip on here or something just to neaten it up. But super cool, super easy, a lot of fun. Thanks very much for taking a look.